These are the last 2 vines that we have to prune this year. I came through and did some pre-pruning through all the vines. We have about 400 vines, and this particular one is a Grenache vine. So we did some pre-pruning and cut it to the catch wire. And last year, when we pruned this vine, we pruned it right at the fruiting wire. We trimmed it at the fruiting wire in hopes that I could get 2 cordons come out during the year, which I was able to do. I was able to train a couple of cordons. These are only 1-year vines. So now I need to set up for next year. Remember, these are 2-year-old vines going into their 3rd growing season. And the type of pruning I'm doing, most of the time you want to prune your spurs so that you have 2 buds per spur. It's only the 3rd year. Last year we restricted the growth. We cut all of the fruit off, so we didn't have any fruit from this vine last year. This year we're going to get fruit, but I don't want to overstress the plant because it's a new plant. So we have 2 buds here, 2 buds there. Instead of doing 2 buds, we're actually only going to do 1 bud on each spur. And I'm going to make sure that the spurs are about hand width apart and get rid of spurs that are not going up, as you can see. So let's start doing this. Let's start pruning the Grenache grapevine. For all the vines I did this year, I always started in the middle and worked my way out. So I kind of take a look at it. This one's going up. There's 1 bud right there. I'm going to cut it just above a bud, and there's a base bud right there, and a base bud right there, and a base bud there, which will grow out this year. When you take a look between this one I'll use as a base bud, I'll use it next year as a spur. So when I take a look at my hand width apart, this one back here, I'm going to get rid of. I've got 1 spur here. I've got 1 spur right there. Hand width apart, this one I'm going to get rid of. Hand width apart. I've got a bud right there, and I got a base bud right there. I've got a little one back here, and this one is real small. I don't know if it's going to make it or not because it's smaller than pencil width, but I'm going to leave it there because I've got a base bud and a fruiting bud on this one. Got the one going sideways, 1 bud, sideways, 1 bud. And then I'm going to get right here to this one, sideways. It's a little too long, and I'm going to cut it to have it end right there at the post. So on this half of this Grenache vine, I've got a couple of base buds right there, a base bud and a fruiting bud. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So next year when I come through this, I should have 9 good spurs coming up that I can work with. So now let's go ahead and tie this down. So I want to train this so that it's right across the top of the wire. I'm not going to wrap it around the wire because I don't want to have problems later, but with this type of I'm going to cut this off. I don't like how close it is to this post. I've got a bud right here that might come up, so I'm going to cut that off right there, and that's it. So that's that half of the Grenache grapevine. So let's do the other half of this grapevine. It's going to be a little more difficult than that one, because that one was pretty easy. But I've got a base bud right there, and I've got a spur right there. I've got one going straight up here. I've got one going straight up here. Got it wrapped around. I've got one going up right there. These are awful close together. I don't like how close together they are. But what I'll do is, next year I'll determine what I want to do with this half of the grapevine. I've got a bud there, and I got a bud down here. I probably won't let the ones in the middle grow as much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9 on this side. So I've got 9 over there, 9 over here with 1 bud. So that should work out pretty balanced for this plant. I'm going to tie this down now. This always gets difficult because what I'm doing is there's a curve in it. So I'm trying to work around not having a curve in the cordon next year. I'm trying to tie this down pretty tight. So this is the final look for this particular Grenache vine. I've got 9 spurs on each side. I've got a 3-year-old vine. I'm going to limit the number of grapes on it to only 2 clusters, maybe 1 cluster per spur this year. I want it to get some good root growth and trunk and cordon growth as opposed to spending time on growing grapes this year.